Welcome back to another episode of the Chiropractic Student Podcast. Today, we are joined by Dr. Christian. He is a upper cervical doctor in the centre of London. It's called Top Chiropractic. He's here to give us all of his tips, resources, and any worldly advice that he has learned going through in the world of chiropractic. Thank you, Christian, for coming on the show.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. So first of all, could you just give us a little bit about your background, how you got started, a little bit about your journey, where you studied, and then what you're up to now?
Yeah, so I decided that I was going to be a chiropractor at a very young age. I must have been around 9 or 10. I was playing football for my local town and injured myself, and trying to get back on the field like every 9 or 10-year-old is football's like their world. So I couldn't really work out what was going on. I remember exactly what I'd done. I'd jumped on the bed and landed on my back, and after that I just really struggled to put any weight through one side of my on one leg. And I went to the physio and I did all the physio stuff. Physio told me that one leg was growing longer than the other and I needed to wear a lift, so I went away with a lift in my shoe, and then my dad took me to the chiropractor who checked me over, took the lift out of my shoe straight away, did some looking back on it, it must have been Thompson, did some leg checks and made some corrections to my spine, and I literally bounced out of the office and I was back on the football field. And since then I knew I was either going to be a professional footballer, which was going to be a struggle, or I was going to then start to physiotherapy was what I thought I was going to do after the results with the chiropractor. That's what I decided that's what I wanted to be, and I just saw the profound effect it was having on obviously myself and then my family over the years. And since then it's been a whirlwind getting to where I am now, but it's been a good journey. After I decided that, obviously I went to the AECC around, I think I was 12 or 13. I went to the AECC because that's where my chiropractor graduated from.
Wait, you were 12 or 13 years old?
Yeah, my dad took me down and he was like, oh, what does he need? What GCSEs does he need to get into the college, and what should he be doing? And they were like, well, he needs sciences. So from then on, I was doing science at GCSEs, I was doing science at A level, and then got to AECC straight after college. Went through 2017 and started to work doing Gonstead in Milton Keynes. Mm-hmm. I did that for a couple of years and then was on the ACP course run by Sherman, which is the Academy of Chiropractic Philosophers course, which is a fantastic course, and it really grounded me in the philosophy of chiropractic. And on that course, I started reading more green books, more philosophy, and was surrounded by some people who were really keen in this thing called knee, chest, upper cervical. So curiously, I went and started looking into it and asking questions. And then from there, I decided, okay, this makes a lot of sense to me. I read volume 18 and that was like, okay, volume 18 is written by BJ Palmer, and it's essentially the upper cervical manual, if you like, and decided this is definitely what I want to do. And since then, I've been pretty laser focused on knee, chest, upper cervical. And now I have my office in the middle of London. Work with Dr. Elliot Schwepson, who's a fantastic chiropractor, and and that's our office now, and that's where we are. We're growing, and we're doing really well. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind journey, but it's been fantastic and a massive learning experience.
Amazing. Like, knowing what you wanted to do from like such a young age, that's really that's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, I think that's what really gave me I feel like a fast track. And when you know what you want to do, then I went there and I knew what GCSEs I needed. It wasn't even a question. There was no debate. It was, I was going to do these. I knew what A levels I was going to do, and then I was straight into chiropractic college. And thankfully, I've been supported by some really great chiropractors around me. And that's where I am now.
That's a really, really nice journey, like nice and smooth as well. Like some people come on and it's like, it took me 50 years to become a chiropractor. And it's a nice
Yeah.
journey to come through. It's lovely. And so you've been out for 4 years. You say you graduated in 2017?
Yep.
So it'll be
Graduated
almost,
2017.
yeah, almost 5 years coming up soon. You worked for a few years as Gonstead. Were you adjusting full body?
Yeah, just full spine. I didn't do extremities. It's just full spine. Using the Novoscope, utilizing X-rays when we could, and that was really great. It really helped me and gave me a good foundation working with like how the body works and just understanding how to put a force into someone's body. And then once I started then looking into, after a seminar with Dr. Greg Plauger, he was talking about these bending X-rays, which would then we'd be able to study biomechanics. So then I got really into looking at how, like, if we laterally bend someone, how does their upper cervical spine move, and how does actually their sacrum move, and how does their lumbar spine move. So I got really into looking at that. And then after that, I started, looking into more into upper cervical, and that's where I am now. Yeah.
Did you always have an interest in upper cervical? Like, was there always that inkling of, I've always wanted to dive deeper into this, or was it just something that randomly happened?
I think all chiropractors have a little upper cervical part in them, don't they? It's like you hear all the stories of the people that come in, and majority of the time it's they adjusted their upper cervical spine and this incredible thing happened, and then that happens more. And then just the more I studied it and the more I looked into it, the more it made sense. And volume 18 is really the turning point for me. Once I'd finished that book, I was like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to dedicate a lot of time, and if anything else makes more sense than this, I'm happy to move on to it. But so far, this has been what's been making the most sense to me. So and it's very different to full spine. We look at the body as a whole, so that it's still like a tonal model, if you like. Still take into consideration the tone of the body, and but we just have an understanding that the upper cervical spine is the most mobile area, surrounds the brainstem, and has such a huge impact on total body health and how the autonomic nervous system works, and how those structures around the upper cervical spine function in correlation to the brain and all these things. So I think when I look at it, it's the way that we can put the least input into the body to get the most out of it, which is why I really like it.
And so the book that you're referring to, number 18. So for those who don't know what a green book is like one of the original books that were written by BJ and DD Palmer and other people that are written probably about 100 odd years ago now. And this one, you say, goes into is it this one where he explains that he tried 200 odd different ways and this was the most effective way? Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, it lies to be this one or volume 25, which he talks about that. But yeah, I can't remember exactly, but this one written in 1934. The subluxation specific, the adjustment specific. And essentially what he's talking about is that, at first we thought we'd look at the full spine and we could see misalignments down there. Chiropractors would adjust them and we'd retake the spinographs, which was his term for the x-rays that we then analysed. And we'd recheck them and the spinograph wouldn't have changed. But once we started to work with the upper cervical spine, we'd see these huge impacts and we'd see the mental impulse getting from where it needed to go from the brain to the body more effectively. So when you read volume 18 and you read volume 25, then you start to get an understanding of how much work BJ Palmer put in to understand what chiropractic, what's the most efficient way to input a force into someone's body. And it just gives you that sort of yeah, he did a lot of hard work for us, and it's all in those books. So they're definitely worth checking out. They're not easy reads by no means, but I mean, anything that's worth doing isn't going to be easy, is it? So they're definitely worth taking the time to read and study and reread.
And getting through university, how did you find it? Were there struggles for you? Did you absolutely smash it? Like, what was your journey like going through uni?
Yeah, absolutely smashed it, no problems. No, it was of course, like when you have even a limited understanding of chiropractic, you see things in front of you and you get told things. Oh, there's no evidence for this. That's not supported by research, and it sort of puts you down a little bit. So once you have that, a little bit of knowledge is probably the best way to put it about chiropractic. So you know certain things, or you've heard certain things, but you don't quite understand why, and you don't really have the ability to reason why that's happening. College doesn't really give you those tools. It's always difficult because you've got this conflict, if you like. You've got, well, the chiropractors in the field are saying that this happens, and my tutors are saying this doesn't happen. So that's always difficult, but I had a good support network around me with some students who were also really keen and really into chiropractic, and they had siblings who were also practicing chiropractors and friends who were also practicing chiropractors that like this helped us along the way. So it wasn't like a walk in the park. I think it was probably easier for me. I just keep my head down, and crack on and get through it and do what I had to do, and then I realized that once you graduate, then you get the freedom to practice chiropractic the way that you want to practice it, So yeah, it wasn't easy, but I just kept my head down, get through it, and get out the other side.
So I've made a few notes there of because I'm trying to extrapolate things that students might be able to use themselves. So instead, I'm not going to jump to resources just yet, because you've just kind of touched upon some bits of like advice and tips, what you would do to get through uni. You mentioned some support groups around you and surrounding yourself with those kind of influences. What would you recommend for a student? Obviously, you're going to recommend these support groups, but what should you be looking for in those people around you?
Well, first of all, I'd always say go and observe people, go and observe practices, because you don't know what you don't know, you don't know how many different styles of chiropractic there are. You don't know how people can practice. People sometimes go through the full college and don't realize you can either do open room, closed room, semi-open, you can, people don't realize you can have 2 beds in a room to 5 beds in a room. People just think the way that we practice in college is the way that you practice all the way through. So go out and experience as much of practicing chiropractors. As the UCA goes through their renewal process, we're going to start to generate a list of chiropractors that are happy to have students in them. So if you're not a member of the UCA as a student, then get on board with that, because we're going to start releasing some really fantastic resources for you to use and to help grow through college. So go and observe is a massive one, and I think a lot of chiropractors will say that. And once you have an understanding of what makes sense, and then you can start to pick the people who you want to talk to and converse with and have interesting conversations with. And if you get a little group of people like that, then staying in contact, they keep you accountable, they'll keep you on track, would be my recommendation. And that's really powerful.
So you've touched upon the UCA stuff, and I was going to touch upon this a bit later as well, but you just completed a series called Chiro Buddy. Do you do that every year? So for those who don't know, this is literally aimed at students to help students get through like their final stages of university, for you to understand. You explained subluxation, you explained the adjustment, you explained like everything, the 33 principles. You went through loads of stuff for students. Is that readily available? Are you going to carry on doing stuff? What else?
Of course, yeah. This year, myself and Andrew were really passionate about getting to students and helping students, and we're going to be. There's a big push this year with the UCA I'm actually on a call in an hour and a half from now. I'm talking about how we're going to strategize and do it. But yeah, we'll be releasing more content. The main thing is get on and register as a student member. It's completely free. So once you're a member, you'll start to receive the emails. We want to really push the list of people who are happy to have students observe, pair up students with like-minded chiropractors, and then we'll be generating content and doing the Chiro Buddy and talks and things on a more regular basis, and then obviously getting in and amongst the students closer to the colleges when we can, to generate some sort of seminar stuff as well is definitely on the cards.
Whew, that sounds pretty spicy. I like that. Lots of work going in, and I love that you're giving back to the students. Like, that's what this is all for. I started this as a student and I'm now no longer a student, but it's like I feel like we need to support the students going through college, because the reason I'm doing this is because I wish I had something like this going through college. And I'm sure you're probably thinking the same thing. Like, I bet you wish you had what you're doing now readily available for when you went through school, because it would have made life so much easier for us.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and the students are the most important part of the profession, in my opinion. You know, because yeah, that's the new chiropractors coming through, and once if you can influence students and influence people and help them think more clearly and more logically, then you're going to have a better quality of chiropractic coming out, you know. And just exposing them to different viewpoints. I speak with a lot of students and they just want to hear different opinions and different viewpoints, and then make the decision for themselves rather than being forced into one sort of way, you know. So that's what we want to do, just give them put it out in front of people, and then obviously we're all adults, we all make our decisions, and they can make the decision rather than being not having that information in front of them. So yeah, students are really passionate about helping students.
I love it. Stuff like that just gets me so like proud of the profession as well. I think it's amazing when everyone just starts collecting together, and there's so much help out there for students. They just gotta look a little bit. So resources, let's have a little look. What are you going to recommend? I want things that kind of stick with you, that maybe you've heard once, you read once, you've listened to, you spoke to someone. Nuggets that you would recommend people go and watch this seminar that's online, or listen to this podcast, or go talk to this person. Nuggets that you kind of have stuck with you and molded you into who you are today, those kind of things.
Yeah. Okay.
What would you recommend?
So I wouldn't and this is going to sound like I've just spoken about volume 18 and green books and stuff, and I'm not going to recommend that you go diving into them, because you'll get 5 pages in and you'll think, what the hell's going on? This is a crazy book that I have no idea what the relevance is to chiropractic. So don't go diving into them. By all means, get them, flick through them and read. And I wouldn't sit down and read it as a storybook. You know, they're not easy reads. They're difficult textbooks, if you like. So I'd start probably by either reading Rob Sinnott's book, Rob Sinnott's Chiropractic philosophy book, or Philosophy of Chiropractic by Joe Strauss. And they're the first 2. I'd recommend reading Sinnott, where you can get this off Lulu. I think that you can get that book there, and then once you've read that, I think Rob Sinnott puts it really simply, you know, like anyone can understand that. Then I would recommend, once you've got that sort of flavor for it, then go into reading Joe Strauss, the Philosophy of Chiropractic, and then he's got a second one which can't remember what the name is, but read his second book, which leads on. And once you've read those 3, then you can start to sort of pick and choose where to go. You could read a green book, you could read maybe Contemporary Chiropractic Philosophy by David Koch, or you could just start to look around some different materials. But they give you they give you the basis, they give you the foundation, and that's what you need. Then you can start to read these other things and make more sense of them, you know. So they give you a good philosophical basis. The other thing in terms of philosophy is yeah, if the ACP starts to run again, that would be great. I know BCC Lyseum always has some really great people talking about philosophy. But really, I would say that's the foundation. And another thing, I wouldn't expect to be taught it all. Like what tutors would say was, we're not going to spoon feed you. Like, we're not going to give you all the information. We're going to show you where to look, and then you're going to have to read it and get through the information yourself. And that's the difference between like active and passive learning. Like, passively, someone can speak at you and you can absorb it, but it's way more powerful if you sit down, read it, study it, and get your head around it, and then have a conversation with someone. All right, I'm not understanding this, and then someone will explain it in a different way. So I definitely say reading and putting that self-study in is important. And as we go through college, we get zero or a very small percentage of philosophy, right?
Yeah.
And if we
So
think
true.
of chiropractic as that three-legged stool, or we think of it as a pyramid, philosophy is the foundation. So we should put the most time and effort into making sure our foundation is correct. And we've done literally zero by the time we graduate. So yeah, think of how much time you put in practicing your technique, or looking into science, or palpating. You got to put the same amount of time into studying and reading philosophy as you do all those. Johnny Collar runs a great program, the Chiropractic Y, that'll get you up to speed. Johnny's an ACP grad as well. So people who have done the ACP, they know the philosophy. So look for that.
What does ACP stand for again?
The Academy of Chiropractic Philosophy.
Academy of Chiropractic Philosophy. I'm writing this all down. Okay, so really amazing resources. We've got a few books there, and then a few things to go and check out: ACP course, BCC Lyceum, and then obviously making sure that you're looking externally from uni to learn more stuff.
Definitely.
It kind of ties in really quite closely with resources and then tips and advice. But if you could turn up to the first day of uni at AECC, McT, YARC, or South Bank, all the other different places that are opening up, and then year one, and you were able to give them their first 1 minute talk to get them pumped and to get them a bit of advice and any sort of tips that you would give them in 1 minute, what would you do? What would be your go-to bit of gold that you would give just your average year one, whatever, on their first day?
Oh, wow. So what would I say to someone in their first year?
You turn up in the lecture theatre. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Dr. Christian. He has 1 minute. He's going to get you all pumped. He's going to give you some advice for chiropractic school and chiropractic life in general. You got 60 seconds. Stay in.
It's hard. Well, I'd probably emphasize what an incredible profession that they're about to start the process of becoming a part of. I mean, I don't really have words to describe what an amazing profession it is. So I'd probably start with that. But it's also an understanding that it's not necessarily an easy road. You're not going to be able to just walk through it. It's a constant slog, and just when you think you're about to get it, someone says something, and that sort of puts you back 5 steps, and you realize, I actually only know a small amount, So the one thing is just to continuously learn and continuously grow. Surround yourself with like-minded people. You sort of become the people you surround yourself with. So look at people who you want to surround yourself with, and people who lift you up. Surround yourself with those people. But just have it in your mind that it is continuous learning. It's like we said before we started the podcast, it's practice. You learn something every day in practice, so you've got a lifelong learning as well. So if you get behind it, you're in an incredible profession that you can constantly learn in. It's just a privilege to be part of. So that's probably something I would say.
A very proud statement. One that a tearjerker to any of those in the statement. Very proud, very well. You're just, what an amazing profession, and you're so right. And like to a year one, you're going to sound really corny. I'm not going to lie to you. You're going to sound like that
of course.
cheesy chiropractor come in and be like, oh yeah, everyone says it's a great profession. But I genuinely do struggle to find people who aren't having fun in this profession, who are able to express their true self. So there are people in this profession who will fail and not be happy, but it's typically because they're trying to be something that they're not. They're trying to be a 500 people a week open plan office when they actually just want half an hour and they just want to sit and chat and they want to emphasize more on whatever. Like there's some people, and then the other way around, some people are stuck in the half an hour chiro therapist or physiopractor, whatever you want to call it, way, but they really want to be just smashing upper cervicals every day. And so it's like when you're living in your truest self and like your best potential, like it's about surrounding yourself with the best support and those who are going to get you to where you want to be. Don't make it a lonely process, and keep an open mind. Yeah, always be learning and growing. Like you said, I've literally just summarized what you said, but it hit me quite hard, so I went on a bit of a rant, but like I loved it because people need to understand that this profession is so life-changing. I've been in practice this is my first full week, and I've already had phone calls like with people calling being like, wow, like I can't believe it. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I'm straight out of uni, I'm not even experienced, and I'm making a change, and I feel like I'm fumbling and still like mumbling and fumbling and all over the place, and I'm making a difference. If you knuckle down and get really bloody good at this, you can make like the difference that you can make is just so unreal. And to change one person's life is amazing, yet to change hundreds of people's lives every week is like just another, it's just cloud nine. And I can't wait to get to those numbers, because I'm of that mind where I just want to see as many people as possible, as long as I'm giving the best care as I can.
Exactly.
Because everyone deserves chiropractic.
Yeah, everyone deserves the opportunity to experience chiropractic. Exactly.
Yes.
Like I couldn't agree more. And like you said, it's about finding out what works and where you fit in, you know. Like if you put me in a practice where I was seeing put me back in the practice where I was seeing a lot of people every week, I was doing it and I was doing the best job that I possibly could. Now I see a fraction of the amount, but I feel like my service is at a different level now, you know, like I can just deliver at a higher level. And like you said, people were still getting fantastic results, you know. They were just functioning at a much better level when I was working with them. But like now I can see it. I'm so much happier in the way that I practice, and it's just about finding how you can, what works for you, not trying to model yourself off someone else, because that's another thing that I did, is I looked at the person in front of me who was my boss, if you like, and thought, well, that's what I got to do, you know. I got to be that. That's what I want to do. I want to be the person in front of me. And actually, I really found it difficult in the first few weeks, because I was trying to be my boss, you know. I was trying to do the report findings like him. I was trying to do everything like him, and it just didn't work. And I remember calling my dad after a couple of weeks in practice, probably even my second week in practice, being like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, I think I've made a mistake. And he was like, no, you just need to find your feet. I had the conversation with my boss, and he said, well, you don't like the report findings I do? Why don't we just work it so it works best for you? And I started speaking more about the nervous system and subluxation, and rather than other things that he had in there. And I just started to grow and become such a better chiropractor for it, and then eventually really fell in love with it. And then you know, that's as you learn and as I developed, I realized actually there's something other that I'm really passionate about. Went down that hole, and now my practice style's completely changed. But as long as you realize that at the time you're doing the best that you can do with everything in front of you, and that's all you can do, you know. Like we said off before we started, like you're never the finished article when you leave college, and you're almost never you're never the finished article when you think you're the finished article. That's when that's when you're going down, right? So it's just a continuous process of learning and adapting and evolving, and that's great. Not many professions you can do that in.
I mean, I'm not going to ask any more questions. That has left it on such a great little monologue that you put on there. That's so good. That's got me like pins and needles, shivers, kind of like what goosebumps on my arms. I love it. And the way you talk about it, I can tell you're passionate about it and you're really where you want to be. And doing less sometimes is more because you're congruent to yourself. You are practicing how you want. You're happy. That rubs off on your patients. It's energy. At the end of the day, we're all just balls of energy. And if you're giving off good energy and you're living life to your potential, you're going to help people live to their best potential. And I love it when people come on the podcast like yourself and you just go off on one and just talk about, and it's so passionate. And you can tell when someone's passionate about it, because some people are like, oh yeah, we just come in, I just move the joints and make them feel a bit better. And it's like, you're missing the point here. And like, you've just come on and been like, we changed lives. Like you're happy, everyone's happy. Like, it's just a way of life. It's a whole synonymous system, and making it true to yourself. And chiropractic is different for everyone. Like, oh, I just love it.
It follows the thing. It's different. The application is different. It follows the same set of principles. That's important. Is as long as we stick to the principles, then then that's it. You know, then you can express it in your own different ways. But it needs to be true to the principles. Otherwise, potentially what you're doing isn't necessarily chiropractic. But you still might be helping a lot of people. But yeah, the principles and sticking to those are the most important part. You know, that's a big thing. Something.
Right, I'm going to wrap it up there. It's so good. Like, I'm going to leave us on a high. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with myself and everyone else who listens to this. We really appreciate you taking the time and sharing it with the students and helping us, and everything else that you're doing for students and the chiropractic profession. So just from me and everyone else, thank you so much for all of that. If people want to get in contact, or they want to come observe or have a look at the clinic, how do we get in contact? Like, what's the process there?
So either you can add me on Facebook or Instagram and message me through there. Just put in Facebook Christian Caswell, or on Instagram the same, or you can follow the clinic, which is Top Chiropractic. Send us an email, christian@topchiropractic.co.uk, and I'll get back to you as soon as. I would love people observing, and because our office is so unlike probably any offices people have seen, we love to share it and help people get a broader understanding, if you like. So they're welcome to come and observe or chat or jump on a call with me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm going to put all of these details in the show notes. So if anyone wants to have a little look or get in contact with Christian, please do, and have a look in the show notes. It's going to have all of the things that you've mentioned, all your tips and advice and resources. And that's about it. So thank you everyone else for listening. And thank you so much, Christian, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
No, you're welcome. And I appreciate what you're doing and putting out content for people, because obviously it's nice to see people as well passionate and doing things for the profession, giving back, like you said.
Thank you so much. And we'll catch everyone else next week. Thank you.